Hey guys, it seems like I got a comment from the primary upkeep for the Reverse1999 Prydwen tier list and team database. I will keep this comment at face value and believe that this guy is actually the guy he pretends he is, right? Or he says he is. And this is gonna be the last video I'm gonna make about this Prydwen database topic, as I'm in the process of creating my own Reverse1999 database, and this will be the best database that exists out there. So yeah, I just wanted to say thank you very much, Gordon, for watching my video and leaving such a huge comment. I really appreciate it, and initiating a conversation with me is also, I appreciate that. Let's just keep it at that. So yeah, we're gonna read this comment out loud and we're gonna talk about everything that is said here. So let's start reading this comment, and his first point says, the way we categorize roles, of course, is just one of many interpretations of the game's mechanics. Some drop the concept of sub-carry altogether, others have different criteria for what it means to be a survival. Hell, even within our own writing team, we often debate over what it means to put certain characters under certain roles. Exactly. That is like proving me correct when it comes to me saying, you guys make it easy on yourselves, and from the way you phrase your definition of what a role is, I can see that you don't fully understand what a role even is and what a character needs to be fit into a certain role. That is very, very clear, and I explain this in detail in my video. So yeah, that is just a point that proves me right in one of my points already. Okay, now then we can move on to point number 2. I will read it out in its entirety first, and then we're gonna talk about it. A really good example of this is Kakania. What role would you put her in? She does egregious amounts of damage in extended fights, often beating A+ and below main carries and sometimes being competitive with the A ranks. Is she a damage dealer? What about Solace? It's one of the best offensive buffs in the game, being able to give anywhere between 500 to 600 attacks. Once empathy, even more at P1 it gets crazy, is stacked, and using her ultimate she is able to record and reapply allied damage. Is she a support? A sub-carry? What about her what about her AFK healing output? The fact that she passively shares damage taken by allies? Is she a survival? Maybe it comes down to what it comes down to is that categories have to be set, and characters ultimately have to be slotted into set categories. Yeah, this is a very, very good point, because you give me a little bit of more insight here as to how you look at characters. And the way you look at characters here, like Kakania, is not correct. Yeah, you try your very, very hardest to look at like the full picture and everything that the character does, but you don't need to do that. The way you look at the character is the very first thing that you have to figure out is, what does this character do, and what is the main and core reason why I would put this character into my team. And you note yourself that the reason why you would put Kakania into your team is not her damage output doesn't matter. She's not the main DPS, she will not be the sub DPS, we all know that, right? So her damage output is pretty irrelevant. It can be seen as a bonus, but it is irrelevant when it comes to ranking how good a character actually is. Then her buff, it's the exact same story. This is not the reason why you put Kakania into your team. The reason why, and we all know this, why we put Kakania into our team is the ability that if she is able to share damage. She takes 50% off of one ally's damage like that the character would take in damage. Kakania takes a little bit off, 50% in fact, and then is also able to heal this damage off. That provides great sustain to your team, and that is why you put Kakania into your team, and that is what you have to look and focus on when you rank a character in terms of how good this character is overall. And you put Kakania into the S plus rank, if I'm not mistaken, or S tier or something. Yeah, the point is way too high. And you see, you're trying so hard to figure everything out, while all you have to do is look at the meta and look at what teams Kakania is actually played in. It's the poison team. That's her best in slot. This is where you play Kakania. You will figure out really fast, since I know that your database is based on version 3.0, and you know that poison barely holds up. You can even argue poison is not really meta, you know? When you rank the teams, you know it's Blood Ember, it's Dynamo, it's the follow-up team around GU's new Euphoria update, and so on. It's the Recoleta Ultimate team, right? So poison barely even holds up. And Kakania is played in the poison team that is barely even meta, you could say, you know? And her spot there is not even really uncontested anymore because Jessica came into the game. So you would rank Kakania now pretty low because she doesn't have a spot in one of the best teams in the game. It's barely meta. Even that the kind of niche team she is played in is heavily outclassed by many other teams. Cool, see, that's how you already easily figure out that she should be very low ranked. Now, since you try to look at like the full picture and everything going on, then you have to take into account not her buff or her damage or anything like that. What you have to look at is she's actually performing very well in the hardest content in the game, which is Reveries in the Rain. She's very good at diving there, so that would raise her rank a little bit, you know? You would put her like in what? Let's say, for example, you would put her in C or in D tier. You can rank her up now a rank, right? Because she is doing well in the hardest content in the game, and that deserves respect. So you rank her up running, and boom, you have your ranking, right? But to put her in like S or S plus, like that is completely out of touch, because these ranks should belong to characters, or do in fact belong to characters that are played in the very top of the meta, in the very best teams in the game, and not in a niche team like the poison team. And then she's not even the undisputed best in slot there anymore, you know? I hope you understand the point and where I'm coming from here. Okay, then on to point number 3. Again, remember, I read this out first and then we're gonna talk about it. So point number 3 says, the reason we put her into the support slot is funny actually, and it's not just because of Solace as you claim our thought process was. Would you recommend that people use Kakania P0 as their only survival unit? In any content that remotely moves into mid to end game, I would argue that everyone knows that while Kakania is a fantastic damage sponge, that she does not have the healing output to solo sustain before P2, and the sole reason why we moved her to support was actually to prevent misinformation. A lot of people went onto the page, saw Kakania next to Via and Tooth Fairy at the time, and asked, well, who's better between the 3 as a healer? Which would never result in Kakania's sustain ever being talked about, despite being arguably the best unit in the game. Okay, so cool, that is another great point. The reason we put her into support is not because of Solace as you claim our thought process was. No, I do not claim that was your thought process. You literally give the definition of your thought process yourself. We can scroll up and read it really quick all together. Here, the survival role. Read, out loud for yourself right now what you type in there. The survival role, as you call it, says healers, tanks, and the ones with tools to help to keep the team alive. That is literally, like, under the survival category here, that is literally the definition of what Kakania is. She is a tank because she takes damage off from her allies. She literally tanks 50% of the damage that an ally would take to herself. That it doesn't, when we talk about Reverse 1999, it doesn't get more tank than this Kakania ability. That is the primary #1 tank ability in the entire game. So, under your own definition, Kakania is already in the survival category. That is not what I claim to be your thought process. That is literally what we all can read right here on our screens on your website. Okay? Healers. Yeah, you say healers. What does Kakania do? Guess what Kakania does? She heals. You know what I mean? She is a healer. She is a tank. And she has the tools who help to keep the team alive. You literally define it yourself here. And now, in the comments, you say that I claim this to be your thought process. I mean, what are we, like, at this point, it's getting honestly a little bit ridiculous. Like, what are we talking about here exactly? But anyways, let's keep rolling. So, would you recommend that people use Kakania P0 as their only survival unit? Obviously, I would never ever recommend that at all. I wouldn't even recommend to people to necessarily play Kakania. Because, and yeah, already, like, the answer to this question is already given in the metagame. Kakania is part of the poison team. Is she the healer in the poison team? No, she is not. She is the support. And Sotheby is the healer. Kakania is not used as a healer. So yeah, I don't know where this question could ever possibly come from someone who manages a database online. It honestly blows my mind a little bit. I'm gonna be honest, right? I'm not trying to like insult anyone or shit talk, but yeah, I mean, I'm speaking off my mind and I'm telling the truth here, right? Like, I mean, huh? Survival unit, bro? What I mean, this is crazy, honestly. So, anyways, let's keep reading the comment. In any content that remotely moves into, yeah, I would argue that everyone knows that while Kakania is a fantastic damage sponge, that she does not have the healing. Yeah, exactly what I'm saying. That is why Sotheby is the healer in her team and not Kakania. Moved her into support was actually to prevent misinformation. Yeah, and you see, then if you say that, right? If you say that the sole reason why you moved Kakania to the support slot was actually to prevent misinformation. If you say that, then go back and read what you define as the survival role. If you, yeah, I just read out what you would like do to prevent misinformation. What is this survival role definition then here? This is then misinformation, or like, am I missing something completely here? Like, I don't know. But anyway, so where were we here? Prevent misinformation. A lot of people went onto the page, saw Kakania next to VN2 Fairy at the time, and as well, who's better between the healer? Yeah, see, I make a hot claim here. I think how you get your hands onto the information that you have and the way you quote-unquote analyze things is not actually by yourself. You talk to other people, to, I would guess, many other people, and you take on everything they say as face value and then you put it onto your website, right? That's a hot take, but I'm really getting the feeling that you don't really understand here at all what you are talking about, and you base your things about what other people tell you. And of course, if that is true, what I'm just saying is true, then of course your information will be flawed, because most people don't know what the hell they are talking about, and you will take misinformation as face value and put it onto your website. So yeah, anyways, might be true, might not be true. That is just like the image that I'm painting here when I'm reading this out loud. Yeah, we talked about being arguably the best unit in the game. Yeah, she was at the time. Okay, let's move on to point number 4. Let's read it out first. We didn't realize our misunderstanding, and yeah, we wanted to make it easy on ourselves. That's kind of the point. I don't see how making it easy is a bad thing in this case realistically. Would it be nicer to split support into offense, defense, debuffer, control, etc.? What about characters who do multiple things at a time? Should we just have their picture 4 to 5 times in the ranks? Same thing with survival. If we call it healer, where do Kaparina and Mrs. Bubble go? It can get unreasonably complicated and confusing to view rather quickly. We make the categories broad to prevent both our own headaches and that of the players, as the units are very fond of double dipping. Yeah, and this is again a point where I'm proven correct with everything that I say on many different levels. So let's break this point down as well. We didn't realize our misunderstanding, and yeah, we wanted to make it easy on ourselves. I appreciate that you are at least being honest about it, and you are not trying to talk your way out of it. Like, I appreciate that. That's kind of the point, right? No, that is absolutely not the point, to make a database flawed with information. That will never be easy, right? If you want to make good database, and you, as you say yourself, want to prevent to spread misinformation, you cannot in any way, shape or form make it easy on yourself. You have to figure everything out by yourself. You have to do deep analysis of every single character's kit and their psycubes and their resonance and every single meta team, the whole meta game. You have to know everything yourself. You have to analyze it yourself. You have to understand it yourself, and only then can you be free of any misinformation. But like, hot take, what you are doing is you take other people's opinion at face value, and then you build your opinion and your knowledge onto what other people say, instead of actually figuring this stuff out by yourself. And that will obviously lead to you not understanding anything, and you will spread misinformation by default, because other people also, you cannot be sure that they know what they're talking about, and your website and the misinformation that you spread there is a reflection of exactly that. I don't see how making it easy is a bad thing. Yeah, I just explained that. Would it be nicer to split support into offense? Like, why would you split the support role? Support is a role that you cannot split a role. Like, what? Let's keep reading. What about characters who do multiple things at a time? Yeah, sometimes roles can overlap a little bit, and in order for you to figure out if a character overlaps in a role, to figure out where this character actually belongs, is analyzing him, finding out what the core reason is that you would put your this character into one of your teams. What is the reason? I already explained that in detail when we talked about Kakania earlier. And this is how you know and how you figure out what role a character actually belongs to. Okay, where were we? Would it be nicer to split? No, it wouldn't be nice. You can't split a role, bro. What about characters? I just explained that. Should we just have their pictures 4 to 5 times in the ranks? Why would you ever put it? This is a tier list, and one character belongs there one time. You're not doing multiple different, like... Sorry, Semmelweis is talking. Excuse me about that. why, like, you see what the nonsense you like bubble here. Excuse me for my wording, but it is actually the case. Like, what are we talking about here, man? We're talking about a tier list, and yeah, I will come back to this point actually, because you do exactly that in your team database. You put Fatutu everywhere there. That is not how you build teams. You can only play one character in one team, and that's it. You can't just put Fatutu everywhere, you know? And now you come with this nonsense of 4 to 5 times in the ranks. Like, huh? Are you serious? Are you actually serious, or a little bit butthurt? Like, I can't tell anymore. Then, same thing with survival. If we call it Tida, where do Kiparina and Bubble belong? Yeah, guess where they belong, bro. God, Jesus Christ in heaven, man. They are supports. They are not healers. They are not tanks. So even by your own definition, they don't belong into the survival category, because they are not healers and they are not tanks. In your definition, even in your definition, which is wrong, but still, they would be support characters because they use buffs to provide shields. The shields are a buff, you know that? So even under your wrong definition of roles, they would belong to support, and you still put them in survival. Like, it's actually insane. But yeah, back to your question, they are supports. They don't heal. They are not healers, you know? But anyways, it can get unreasonably complicated and confuses to view rather quickly. Yeah, what you are actually doing is very, very confusing. Like, at least to someone who actually understands the game. I would guess new players, I know for a fact they enjoy your tier list very well, and they defend it, and this is like kind of their Bible when it comes to R1999, which I'm trying to explain to them that is not actually true. But we will get there. As I said, like, I will create my own database, and maybe that will help out a little bit. Then we make the categories broad to prevent both our own headaches and that of the players as the unit. Yeah, see, that is exactly my point, proven to be correct again. That is the reason why I actually made my video, because you guys make it easy on yourselves. And here is the absolute 100% proof, you know? You make the categories broad to prevent your headaches. You don't analyze, you don't check on yourselves, you don't understand shit, and you don't bother with it because you don't want to get a headache. There you say it yourself right here on this screen. Thank you very much, bro. Alright, moving on to point number 5 that says, Kiparina is a fine unit, and I find your view of her and Fatutu rather skewed. Oh boy, please, oh my god, don't let this be a discussion about how good Fatutu is. Please, for the love of God, don't go that way right now. Please. Alright, let's keep reading. Oh boy, now I'm scared. You mentioned that Fatutu has debuffs, but forget to add that these only benefit poor teams. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. And while she certainly does a lot of excuse me, let's read this one more time, and let's read the whole point first and then break it down. I'm sorry, but this is gonna be crazy nuts here. Kiparina is a fine unit, and I find your view of her and Fatutu rather skewed. You mentioned that Fatutu has debuffs, but forget to add that these only benefit FUA teams, follow-up attack teams, and while she certainly does a lot of healing and cleansing if you need it, Kip makes your team basically immune to control per Insight 3. Outside of teams specifically tailored to FUAs, she's doing the exact same thing as Kiparina, strictly mitigating damage. Kiparina actually has the added bonus of increasing your team's crit rate and damage based on her shield values. It's not difficult to stack it to plus 15, plus 12, 0 AP used by the way. Fatutu also isn't strictly best in slot for any team anymore. Winsong still likes Via too much. Recoleta disregards a proper survival. What the hell? Recoleta disregards a proper survival unit to begin with. If you want to optimize, you trade Fatutu for pickles. Impromptu has skip, like, I had to let that sink in for a while. Impromptu has Skipperina. Dynamo has Ezra. Poison has either Sotheby or Via, depending on how frisky you are. Bloodtide sees a strong argument for Fatutu, but she's matched by Medicine Pocket, except for in long fights. But then again, what is a long fight when your carry is Nautica? She's red SSSing raids by turn 3, so unless you are really going for that 4 million plus score, there's a little difference between the two healers. It's just that Fatutu is really great universal defense anchor. Okay. Yikes. Alright, then let's break this down. So he says, you mentioned that Fatutu has debuffs. Yeah, no shit. But forget to add that these only benefit Fua teams. Absolutely not true in any way, shape or form. They make it so that your entire team heals itself. They cleanse all debuffs from your entire team with only 1 AP. And she occasionally even does that for free, just by herself, without using any AP. As soon as you have spread and or taken away shells. You know, everyone knows that. She is the best unit in the entire game when it comes to how much she heals. And she's also the best debuff cleanser in the entire game. Plus, she has the reason that makes Kakania good by herself in a way more broken form. She is by far the best character in this game currently, that is speaking before version 2.8. Kiparina is like, doesn't hold up in any way, shape or form with what Fatutu does, and everyone who disagrees with this is delusional and has no idea about Reverse 1999, no matter what we are talking about. Like, that is the dumbest possible thing someone could possibly say, that anyone comes close to Fatutu. Like, that is actually brain rot, like crazy. I gotta say it like that. But okay, cool. Then she only benefits Huas. Yeah, complete nonsense. And while she certainly does a lot of healing, no one even, it's the best, by far best healer in the game. Like, what? And cleansing if you need it, yeah. It's literally required. But anyway, skip makes your team basically immune to control. Yeah, and so what? Immune to control. Yeah, cool. How good is that? That is literally you saying absolutely nothing right here. Outside of teams specifically tailored to follow-up teams, she is doing the exact... No, she's absolutely not in any way, shape or form doing the exact same thing as Kiparina. That is so far from the truth. She has the most broken damage spread ability in the entire game. That alone is better than fucking Kiparina shields, man. And she cleanses debuffs like no one else. Best healer in the game, best damage spread, best debuffer. What do you want with your Kiparina making everyone immune to control, bro? Like, are you serious? Strictly negating damage. Whew, okay. Kiparina actually has the added bonus of increasing your team's crit rate and damage dealt based on her shield values. Yeah, that's what Kiparina does. That's what she's all about. She does shields and they get a little bit of crit. Yeah, okay. So what, dude? Like, don't you know what Fatutu does? Or why is everyone so obsessed with these shields? I mean, yikes. Fatutu also isn't strictly best in slot for any team anymore. What? Fatutu is best in slot for pretty much every single team out there. Like, you could make a case and say not in impromptu. Okay, there would I agree with you. Everything else, like, yo-ho, it's the best in slot, in fact, for one of the best teams in the entire game with the follow-up attack team, and she's the most slottable character by far in the entire game. No one else can be slotted into Blood Ember, for example. Fatutu is the only character that can manage that. Like, yo, Ezra is not a slot in, because Ezra is needed for the Dynamo team, right? And then Blood Ember has Medicine Pocket, but Fatutu is better than Medicine Pocket, even in the Blood Ember team. Don't forget about that. And yeah, like, I mean, why do I have to come up with arguments why Fatutu is so good? Alright, excuse me, I had to take a little bit of a breather, and this comment is actually not going on about this Fatutu nonsense. So yeah, let's keep breaking it down further. Winsong still likes Via too much. They are both, if we talk about meta and high ranks and a tier list, those two characters are completely unplayable. But I know that you are completely obsessed with Winsong and you still believe she is one of the best main DPS characters in the game. If I look at your tier list, you think she is as good and belongs into the same tier as an absolute beast like Geo. So yeah, the obsession with Winsong is, yeah, undeniable, right? So I would see why you even mention her here in this comment. I think you can't talk about Reverse1999 without mentioning Winsong. But anyways, Recoleta disregards a proper survival unit to begin with. Wrong. Like, no one disregards a proper survival unit. No one. This will never be. This is not a thing, and this will never be a thing. Of course, like, yeah, if you talk about some like BB mode stages, sure. But I'm talking about the real deal and about really hard content. And no one disregards a proper survival unit. That is not a thing in any game. But anyway, so begin with, if you want to optimize your trade Fatutu for a complete dumb sensical dog shit. Impromptu has Kiparina, Dynamo has Ezra, Poison has Ida Sotheby. Again, you seem also to be really obsessed with Via. But yeah, it's depending on how I guess I'm too frisky. I mean, holy shit, dude, that is actually, it's funny as fuck. Blood Typed sees a strong argument for Fatutu, but she's not matched by Medicine Pocket. Medicine Pocket belongs to the team, Fatutu does belong to the follow-up team. But if Fatutu wouldn't belong to a team and wouldn't have her best in slot, then she would be better than Medicine Pocket in a Blood Type team. So there is no match going on, there are just facts. Except for in long fights. What? And then you talk about long fights. You mention this easy as fuck mains bulletin bullshit that no one gives a flying fuck about. This is so ridiculously easy content that you are talking about here. So yeah, the whole argument is just, it doesn't exist if you talk about mains bulletin here in like a serious manner, dude. Like, let's move on to the next point. Also, I find it slightly grating that you keep mentioning how Fatutu belongs into every single team. She belongs to the follow-up team. But, again, by your own definition, by what you show in your own website, in the team database, yes, Fatutu actually belongs to every single team in this game, according to you. To me, she belongs to the follow-up attack team. That is her best in slot, that's where she belongs. But let me show you this, so you can see it actually with your own eyes. In your team database, you put Fatutu into every single team here. I even say this, you know? You Fatutu's see this?
Everywhere.
Fatutu, Fatutu, Fatutu. Like, these guys are really... like, wow. Fatutu is here so everywhere, no matter in what team. And now you leave a comment here saying that you find it slightly grating that I keep mentioning how Fatutu belongs into every single team. Bro, that is what you literally say yourself. You put it onto display for the entire world to see on the internet. And now you want to come at me for this? Are you fucking like out of your mind, dude? Like you see, like right now, I'm really gonna say it. You seem like you are completely fucking brain dead, dude. Holy shit. Only to then turn around later and slap us on the wrist for putting her everywhere in our team. Like, you see how dumb you are? Like, look at what you are posting on your website and then look at what you are typing out here. That is absolutely ridiculously insane. Again, this comment goes on like, how much shit are you typing here, dude? But yeah, you are like now. Like this is actually confirmed that, yeah, you just don't have the brain cells, bro. That's why you. Yeah, I mean, whatever. Calling Winston complete auscant. Yeah. Now you rambling about and getting butthurt about. This is why you butthurt. I had the feeling when I read this that you talk so much nonsensical brainrot garbage that I got the feeling that you are butthurt. And I said it earlier even. And now it's actually true. I forgot about that. I insulted or I talked shit about the character that you have a complete obsession with, which is Winsong. That opened my eyes. Okay, anyways, thanks for opening my eyes and let's keep reading this. Calling Winsong complete outcast garbage. Did I call that? Sounds like me. That's funny. Feels like a surreal comment given the fact that Willow was never able to hit her numbers. That is not true. You counting? Yeah, see? You're counting the numbers wrong. You don't know how to do math. That's that's all I'm gonna say. Unless Abyss rate because of Genesis damage buff and Geo only really beats you on frequency of follow-up attacks. You are absolutely out of your mind, and not the overall output. The overall output from Willow is way higher. Like it's you. Do you play Willow in the wrong team? Don't have the character? I don't know. Anyways, you don't do how to do math. You don't know how to do math, I guess. Plus, Winsong always has the 15 round special in their back pocket. Read this. Winsong always has the 15 round special in her back pocket. What a great thing to have. Okay, let's move on to the next point. I'm with you on Jessica being the best in slot in the poison team. I really am. It's just that, as you yourself mentioned, Willow Tuesday poison is roughly top 7. Exactly, I said that earlier as well, in the game right now. But see, you are contradicting yourself. But anyways, in addition, all you technically need for poison is Willow Tuesday, then a sustain like Sotheby, Via, and the other support slot is left to flex between units who can do their job without using any AP. If we talk about meta and best in slot characters, as we should when we talk about your tier list and team database, then this comment is wrong. Because you need to optimize and you want the best in slot, and that's how that's the only way to rank characters accordingly, if you know who is best in slot and who's not. But anyways, which leaves you with Kakania and Jessica. Most will go with Kakania for comfort. Jessica is nice in shorter fights because you detonate poison stacks. Yeah, that's what Jessica does. That doesn't make her an S tier character, true, immediately though. And the general lack of attention that Poison has been getting, it's kind of iffy. Also, no one is stopping you from running 2 sub-carries in the same team. Just look at Nautica. Just look at Nautica. Nautica, what? Bro. Nautica does not run 2 sub-DPSs. Where do you get this idea from? Nautica, if we talk about 3.0, and let me explain this real quick to you. When we talk about 3.0, then the best in slot for Nautica, the team, the Blood Ember team, is Nautica, Semmelweis, Sentinel, and Medicine Pocket, because we need Fatutu somewhere else. That is the Blood Ember team. Where in the fucking world do you see 2 sub-DPS characters? Do you think, you must think, Sentinel is a sub-DPS? You are completely out of your mind if you think that, by the way. Sentinel replaces Eternity in that team. Eternity was, if we talk about 3.0, in this team for the whole purpose of filling the blood tide gouge, or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean, the Blood Ember mechanic. You have to fill the blood. That's what Eternity was there for. The sub DPS there is Semmelweis, bro. Eternity is a support that fills the blood tide. And since Sentinel does the exact same thing, but better, and for less AP and everything, it does also more damage than Eternity, but she is not a sub DPS, bro. The sub DPS is Semmelweis. Semmelweis is there for damage. And again, this, yeah, it leads to you misunderstanding things because you don't understand the roles. Why do you play Sentinel in a Blood Ember team? Because she fills the blood tide. Not because of anything else, but because she fills the blood tide. And that's a support mechanic, and that's why she's a support. Like, holy crap, bro. Like, how in the world, how did you make up your mind to create a database and put it out into the world for everyone to see? Like, you have absolutely no idea what you are talking about here. I mean, this point, at least here, there is some truth and there is some things to take away here. Jessica is the best in slot and poison team. Yeah, it's really, really close, but, and it depends a little bit on the stage as well, because in some stages you would require the additional sustain from Kakania, but overall speaking, yeah, Jessica is the best in slot and poison team, and that is not something that could be agreed or disagreed with. That is just flat out effect, you know. You like, yeah, you can figure it out. It's not that hard. All the information you need is out there, dude. Like, what are we talking about? You really am. Okay, that's good. At least you seem to understand it a little bit. It's just that, as you have mentioned, Willet is roughly top 0. Yeah, exactly. In addition, all you technically need for poison. Technically speaking, yeah. But we're talking about a tier list. And then we have to talk about best in slots. And Via is not that, you know? And yeah, you don't want anyone else to do the job. You want the best character in the game to do the job, right? But technically speaking, you are correct. Which leaves you with Kakania and Jessica. Yeah, most will go with Kakania, sure. Yeah, this is fine. Yeah, see? Yeah, okay. Everything is fine, except for this Nautica part. That is, again, complete dumb shit. Let's move on. Ezra's Blood Tide is also sadly not really best in slot in our opinion. This is not an opinion. This is already figured out. And Ezra is not the best in slot for Blood Tide. That is true. That is Medicine Pocket. If we consider that we need Fatutu for someone else. And Ezra is also not even part of the Blood Tide team. She belongs to the Dynamo team. You have to play her in the Dynamo team. There's no substitute there. There's no way around that. And since Ulrich is free, it's fair to assume that everyone would build this Dynamo team. But anyways, okay, yeah, Ezra is not the best in slot. No, did I say that in the video? Then I made a mistake. That place goes to Fatutu. Exactly, yes, just as I just said. But I will concede that he's have a higher spot, and I'm thinking about moving him out based on the smell of his Dynamo team. Yeah, I mean, that's the point that I made. Yeah, of course. Like, you can belong to the Blood Tide team. That is the best team in the entire game. That already deserves credit. And since you are a must-have, a must-play in the second best team in the game, which is Dynamo, that already makes you at least in your tier list, since you have S and S+, it makes her at least S, or him, excuse me, at least. If you are a best in slot in the second best team in the entire game, you deserve a very, very high ranking. That is what SNS Plus is there for. Exactly for characters like that. Tier lists are difficult to make and are, on some level, always biased wrong. No, absolutely not true. Tier lists are based on analysis and on facts. Of course, it can occur that some things get really, really, really close, and then we can have an argument. Like this Jessica Kakania one, you know? That is really, really close. And then, yeah, we could make some arguments here and there, and we could discuss it a little bit. And well, it wouldn't lead to anything, because what it comes down to is simply that these two characters, like Jessica and Kakania, they excel at different stages, at different content, and at different under different circumstances they shine. I explained that earlier, but like, not even, like, tier lists are not biased, wrong, or skewed, not even on some level, except for the scenario that I just explained, because they have a particular target audience, which results in there being no 100% correct way of making them wrong. Ours happens to account for players who may not be as invested in the meta, or who don't quite understand how the games work yet. That is cool, and that is why especially new players, or players that do not want to, or can not, because it's not in their ability to figure this game out, they love this tier list on Prydwen. It's, as I said earlier, they treat this as their Bible, and they will defend it at all costs, and defend it really, really hard. So yeah, that is good, and that is also appreciated to have something like that. But again, like, I'm trying then to help these people out, these new players and everyone else, to understand that they should not take your tier list at face value, because there's wrong information in there. Not everything in there is correct, as I explained in the video. And I also mentioned that you even, again, you say that yourself. You please the players to take this tier list with a grain of salt. I also point that out, okay? So we should be cool in that department. In other words, we are lenient in terms of our grading. Yeah, see, and yeah, lenient is, again, you are scratching the definition of things. Lenient is something else. Putting a character like Kakania into your very high tier and say she is on the level of a Nautica or a Lucy, that is not lenient, that is flat out wrong. This is reflected in several things. For example, if we were talking about meta strictly, Willow, Recoleta, Buddy, Liang Yue, Hisabeth, Druvis, Pickles, Argus, Bubble would all move one down. Yeah, I forgot where you ranked them. I think Recoleta is in your highest tier. That would put her onto the level of a Nautica and a Lucy and stuff, which you should probably move her down, bro. Just saying. Why? Yeah, I just explained why. Because they are not actually hyper meta. Exactly! Ding, ding, ding! There we go. The top teams are Nautica, Semmelweis, Sentinel, Fatutu or Medicine Pocket. Lucy, Ulrich, Flutterpage, Ezra. Correct. Hey! Look at that! If you like Impromptu, get ready to play exclusively Baccarola, Mercuria, Aleph, Caparina. Ah, that's a little bit disappointing. You have to play. Let me explain this Impromptu team to you. I have a video, I break down how to play Impromptu. But anyways, you have to play either Voyager or Regulus as your sub DPS. It is 100% necessary to do that. Why? Because otherwise the damage of your inspiration and the Impromptu incantations at the end of your turn, they would deal damage to random targets. But stages required, a lot of top tier content requires you to be able to have the ability that Voyager and Regulus have, which is directing the otherwise random damage to the actual target that you need. This is why it is a 100% necessity to have Voyager or Regulus in the impromptu team. Now, if even for stages where there's only one opponent, you could make an argument for Mercuria. That wouldn't be too far-fetched, you know, but most of the stages and most of the content, they never have just one unit on the field. Even the big bosses, they usually, or like in 90-95% of the cases at least, have adds. So Voyager or Regulus is 100% necessary to be played in the impromptu team and not Mercuria. Okay, get ready to play exclusively Baccarola Mercuria. I just explained why this is not correct, because here is the kicker. Oh, you mentioned it. Okay, now I'm curious. Here's the kicker. Regulus and Voyager actually provide less benefit for the team than Mercuria does, if you know how to optimize it in a very specific situation. Yeah, if that very specific situation that you are referring to here is that there's only one target to focus down and there are no ads, then you are correct. But we don't really cover that. We make mention of it, but we are targeting a more general audience. Okay, I don't understand the point that you like. I don't understand what you are trying to tell me with this. Wait, let me read that again. If you like impromptu, get ready to play exclusively, because here is the kicker. Provide less benefit for the team in very specific situations. So you base your... But you don't really cover that. You don't really cover the very specific situation. That's correct. That's not what you should do. You shouldn't cover the really specific, if that's what you mean. We make mention of it, but we are targeting a more general audience. That's exactly correct, and that's what you should do. If I understand what you say here correctly, I don't really know if I'm understanding correctly. But anyways, it's not that big of a deal. Your impromptu team is wrong, and that's the whole point, you know. If you would like a more competitive tier list, look at something like the CTL found in an official Discord server. Yeah, I just make my own, the very best competitive tier list out there. I can make that myself. But official Discord server, there is a tier list. I will actually take a look at that just because I'm curious. Thanks for mentioning that. They maintain a highly meta-orientated document with personal unit rankings, a more advanced team building guide, and even an archetype. Great. If, I don't know, I have never seen this, heard about it, or looked at it, but if they do get the information more correct than Prydwen, I mean, great. Instead, the Prydwen team database is very specifically slotted with flexible units mentioned in the descriptions. It's all a matter of the personal taste of the team and the goal you everything goes downhill. Trying to achieve in conveying certain aspects of information, like a tier list is a tier list. What? Shit, dude. It's unfortunate. Like, sometimes you get a little bit right. You are like on the very first baby steps into the right direction, and then you completely fall off a cliff, unfortunately. Okay, so your tier list will look very different from ours. True. You value other things and have different opinions regarding unit. Yeah, this is not a tier list is not about opinions. I said that earlier as well. I give you all the right to be frustrated with people treating Prydwen like it's the holy grail. It's not correct. And again, I gave you credit for saying that people should take your tier list with a grain of salt. That is very, very good and very important to note. Whenever I go on public record about official matters, I always make mention of the fact that Prydwen should not be one's only source of information to build an opinion. I implore people to expand their horizons and do research. Yeah, see, and this is what I applaud you for, and that's like when you say things like that, then you gain my respect actually, because that is exactly what you should do. This is also why I'm always open to discussing the tier list or any information on the site. This is no secret, but I hope you understand that the way you convey your opinions here leaves a bad taste in the mouth, especially because you build assumption about our work process in your head. Not really only, let me read this off real quick, about your process in your head and judge us based on those preconceptions without actually ever, you know, asking us for our processes or talking to us. Okay, this very last point is very, very interesting. Let's break it down. So yeah, regarding, again, opinions, I already talked about that, how a team database, how a tier list is not based on opinions, but it should rather be based on facts for the most part, right? Keep the Kakania Jessica example in your head. I give you all the right to be frustrated with people treating Prydwen like it's holy grail. It's not. Yeah, true. Whenever I go on public record about official matters, I always make mention of the fact that Prydwen should not be the source. Yeah, good. And do the research. Yeah, that is good. Again, this is why I'm also open to discussing the tier list or any information on the site. This is no secret, but I hope you understand that the way you convey your opinions here leaves a bad taste in the mouth. Yeah, I absolutely understand that. Yeah, you say it perfectly correct here. That the way I convey my knowledge here leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth. I completely agree, and I understand that with the way I say things, with the way I phrase things, the way I do that gets people pissed. I'm dealing with this kind of, let me call it, issue, even though I don't really care if anyone is butthurt about what I say or how I say it. But yeah, you are right. Many people are get really pissed with not what I say, but how I say it. And yeah, this is just, I'm being myself. I'm not faking to be anyone I'm not. I'm 100% transparent and honest. And I talk about video games with a whole lot of passion. Video games are a very big part of my life. So when I say things, I convey them with a lot of passion, and I have very deep and good knowledge of what I'm saying. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here on YouTube, for example, right? So yeah, I understand how what I say leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth. I'm used to that, and I don't really care, to be quite honest with you, because no matter what I would ever say or how I would ever say things, there would still be people that are butthurt, right? And if there are a few more or a few less, who cares, bro? I'm totally honest, right? What, like, I think it's understandable. So especially because you build assumptions. Yeah, you are maybe a little bit right. You know, I do these hot takes, but it is not 100% assumptions, because again, when I see how you rate things, when I look at your team database, when I look at the tier list, when I look at how you phrase things, especially the definition of what a role is, then I can already tell there is something completely wrong in that. See? And I can see your work process. You see, you prove me right here in a lot, like every single aspect basically that I convey in this video. So I'm not just assuming things and like pulling shit out of my ass, so to speak. I judge by what I see, what I read, and by interpreting things. And again, you have proven me right here on pretty much every single point I made in the video. So yeah, I wouldn't call it assumptions. Although, yeah, maybe sometimes there can be an assumptions, right? I make hot text. Cool, okay. About our work process in your head. No, see, this is not in my head. I base everything I say about what I see and read and about your phrasing. And judge us based on these preconceptions without actually ever, you know, asking us for our processes or talking to us. Okay? Yeah? This one, you are 100% correct. I should have at least tried before making this video to approach one of you guys, like personally, let me say, maybe have a little bit of a chat or talk in Discord about things, trying to, I should have at least tried to approach one of you guys before making this video. Okay, I 100% agree with you, and I apologize for not doing this, right? I'm sorry about that. I will next time when I approach something like this keep what you told me here in mind. For sure, I will do it next time. I didn't think this would be a big deal though. Like, at least not to an extent that the developer would leave a comment on my YouTube video. I thought none of you guys will ever even get to know me or see any of my videos. You know, I am a very, very small YouTuber here. I do this for like what? How long do I cover Reverse 1999 content? For like 3-4 months now? Maybe not even that, you know? So I'm kind of a nobody still, and I don't do this to become big or to rage bait or anything like that. I do this out of pure passion for video games, and I love Reverse 1999, and I thought, hey, making YouTube content for this game would be fun, so I tried it out and I have a lot of fun, and so I'm doing this, you know. My channel is also not monetized or anything. I don't earn a single cent ever with anything that I'm doing, be it my YouTube channels or my Twitch stream or whatever, you know. So yeah, but again, to the point that I excuse myself really to not trying to approach one of you guys before making this video. I thought it would never get known, it would never be a big deal if I make the video, you know, and I just wanted to speak out my mind, and that was the reason I made this video. I don't do anything to attack anyone or to, I love shit talking, right? So yeah, I do that sometimes. And I get very, very passionate, as you maybe already realized by how I react to some of your points here, right? But yeah, I don't mean any harm. And yeah, that's about it. I hope you, Gordon, will watch this video, and I hope I wasn't too harsh. Maybe we shouldn't talk to each other again. Maybe we can talk further to each other. Maybe we just leave it at that and part ways as friends or as people that love Reverse 99, whatever you want, right? I hope I didn't attack you too much and nothing here hurts your feelings or anything like that. I mean, we are both two adults, and we can get along, right? It's not a big deal. In the end, it's just a video game. But anyways, I babbled for way too long. That's about it. I hope to the audience that this video was fun and informative. If you like Reverse 1999 content in general, please consider leaving a follow on my channel. I would really appreciate that. But until next time, take care of yourselves, have a great day, and we love this game.